7 months ago, one brave YouTuber went where only maybe a few YouTubers have gone before. He went and collected dirt, put it into a container, and then did nothing. He just watched as the dirt, the pine cone, and the dirt below the dirt transformed into a magical, wonderful experiment. And without further ado, here is that mad YouTuber. Thanks, guy, that clearly definitely wasn't just me talking. Anyways, before we get into the 7-month update on our Plantless Terrarium, I want to say a huge shout out and thank you to Sarah and Forrest who sent us some of their dirt from their area for our upcoming Plantless Terrarium video. It really means a lot to us that you'd go out of your way to send us a box full of dirt. Like, it sounds silly, but it really does mean a lot to us. So thank you again for doing that. So one of the first things I did with the Plantless Terrarium is I made a lid that's actually easy to grab onto, and that was the more I handled that old lid, the more I was afraid I was going to cut myself. So this, huge change. So one of the first things you probably noticed, or at least I noticed, is that there's moss everywhere in here. And one of the few downsides to the moss everywhere is that I'm having a real hard time finding the small critters in here that there were before, mainly the millipedes and isopods. So what I want to do is I want to scrape the poop off the glass, because one of the easy ways to tell that they were still in here was when I could distinctly see new poop popping up. So if I get that scraped out of the way, if more poop pops up on the glass in the future, I know they're still around here even if I can't see them. It's a little less poopy. All right, now that the poop is off the glass, we can actually take a look at what's going inside. And with moss being one of my favorite things in here, I'm excited to say that I see probably at least 5 or 6 different varieties of moss. And the branch that we had taken and put in here has a nice velvet coat of moss all across it. And it's exciting to almost see the branch disappear into the carpet of moss that's across this entire thing. Now on top of that, we do have a lot of plants. They haven't branched out in height very much, but they have gotten really wide. And we did notice that before as well with the previous videos. But one of the interesting things is that one of the plants that we had kind of talked about as having a runner or a secondary plant has changed quite a bit. It used to be very ground oriented. Now it's a little bit taller, but the most distinct changes on it is it has like these bulbs coming off the base of it. And at first I wondered they might be kind of seed pods, but the thing is that doesn't make sense to me because usually seed pods would kind of come off of flowers. And there's also a flower coming off the base of it, and to my knowledge, this is the first time I've seen them really pop up. And there was a flower that had fallen off of it just a few days ago, and I don't really see any seed pod happening after that. So maybe I missed it happening, or maybe not, but I really have no idea what those little pods are. Either way, it's exciting to see that the plant has gone all the way to the kind of the mature stage where it's actually producing flowers. Besides the changes to that plant, we do have a couple of different new additions to it. Well, new additions as in they're sprouting up. There's a couple of places where I think the grass is sprouting up, and I'm kind of excited to see what that does because not a lot of the plants have really gotten very tall in here. So I'm hoping that I'll kind of use some of the space we have available above the ground level. And I've also seen next to the branch a new plant pop up. I'm not sure really what it is, but it's kind of neat that there's a little bead of water sitting on one of the leaves. And it just kind of looks neat the way it's resting on there. There's, I think, some Selaginella possibly popping up over in a corner. And we also have a little bit of liverwort and possibly a fern. I'm not sure because it's got some irregular shaped leaves, which I find are really interesting looking. But I can't wait to see it for it to really fill out. The plant over by the pine cone, I think it's really neat to see that part of it is dying, as weird as that sounds. Some of the bigger leaves have actually fallen down to the substrate below, and it's really cool to see that the springtails and the soil mites are breaking that down and returning it back into the soil to be used again by other plants or the moss in the area. So it's kind of neat to see that part of it's dying off, but the entire plant isn't. So it's still healthy enough to keep going, but something's making a couple of the leaves die off, whether that's just the natural cycle of that plant or maybe it's a little bit low on water to sustain all the leaves that it has going. Either way, I like to see that cycle happening. It's really exciting for me. We had that one plant that was close to the leaves that at first it had fallen down and I thought had died, but it seems like it's actually rather persistent. Despite falling down, it's not dead. The leaves have a nice kind of purplish red color to it. It hasn't seen much growth, but it very much looks alive. I'm just not sure what it really needs to take back off, whether the roots are going to take hold and it'll eventually sprout back up, or maybe it's just a little too cool or not getting quite enough light to really thrive in this environment. So I'm really hoping that I can see evidence that our little millipede buddy is still in here because I haven't seen him in a while, but everything in here should be fine. There's plenty of stuff decaying. It's not overgrown with mold or anything. So I feel like he should still be in here, but I really wish I could see him. And I think down in the substrate layer, like where the rocks are, there might even be some poop down there. So he might have ventured his way down there at some point. And I know there's even some plants that are trying to sprout up out of there. It seemed like they were just trying to find any light possible and had grown down through the screen over towards the glass and started kind of sprouting down in that rock layer. So hopefully we can start seeing some poop on the glass again, as much as that sounds weird to say, but I really want to know that he's still in there somewhere. Or she.